Hello everyone, this is Diane. Welcome to my video blog. I'm a little late with this week's installment, but here we are, finally, I apologize for that. It just means that I'll put up another video in a couple of days and it'll be back on schedule. Just had a busy weekend last weekend, that's all. What I wanted to talk about today was something that was inspired by an album title by one of my favorite bands from a while ago. So the title of the vlog is Magic, Murder, and the Weather, and I'll be tying all of those things together. The first part of it is magic, and so I guess what I should do is define what I mean when I say magic. For me, what magic means is like interpersonal connection, some kind of transformation that happens, and that it be kind of beyond rational understanding, but also it can involve a rational understanding, but there's some aspect of it that is more spiritual than mechanical. So the first thing that I'd like to say under the topic of magic is that I practice Buddhism, and it may be from a certain point of view kind of touchy to talk about Buddhism as magic, because I feel that Buddhism is cause and effect, which would be a scientific principle, basic to science, but also to this spiritual thing as well that I do every day and as part of my life and try to infuse my life with. And it's faith. It's moving my life forward as best I can and reflecting and trying to understand myself. And so in a way it's a magical thing because it starts in me, but it also proceeds out into the world. So it is connection, and it's about how my life progresses, so it is transformational, and in some ways it defies rational understanding, so it meets my 3 criteria for magic. Another thing that I would say in relationship to magic is that I am a pre-op transsexual. I am moving my life in a particular direction based on something spiritual in me, and deep in me that's beyond rational understanding. There are, I'm sure, things that science can point to and use as like a correlation with why this happens, but essentially I feel that I am a woman and I am moving my life forward to make my body match my spirit, and that also meets my criteria. I am also a fantasy fiction fan. I'm currently reading some Tad Williams, but I also, if you look at my channel and look at what I read, you'll see that a lot of what I read has some magical aspect. Magic is a very important concept to me, and it really is. It's about connection as much as anything else. And as far as where we go from here, we will come back to the first thing that I said, which is Buddhism. The next part of my topic was murder. So, thinking about what's going on in the world over this last month, this has been quite a month. There's the assassination attempt that took 6 lives in Tucson. I lived in Tucson for many years, and I have many friends from Tucson, and we've all been deeply affected as Tucsonans, and as people who, as Americans, and as people who just care about other people and feel that connection, so that's been really an important thing that's happened. I'm also thinking about what's happening in the Middle East right now, the various people's uprisings that are happening in places like Tunisia and Yemen and Syria and Jordan and most prominently in Egypt. And I'm thinking about the aspects of that also fit the idea of magic, and that connection and that transformation, because that's what is, in my mind, central to these experiences of people, and as a matter of history. It's interesting to me to note that the event that started all of this was the Algerian student who, as an act of protest, self-immolated. He set himself on fire. And the anger and the connection that people felt to this student, and this is really both hopeful and very frightening, because we don't know where it's going, but something was set in motion by something that one person did. I think about the 9/11 attacks in this regard. I think about how that morning, as I sat watching television and thinking of it as an act of magic, the destroying of those towers was an act of horrible, evil magic that transformed this world, and how we all felt connected, and how some people felt rage, and how many people came later to feel rage, and what it's meant to the world since, and how much, even now what's going on in Egypt and what happened in Tucson is still connected to that earlier event, and how that earlier event is connected to events before it, and how it's so much to do with our connection to each other. And the third thing that I'd like to talk about is the weather. Because while we're watching these sweeping, scary, transformative events come to us through the various media, we're also, here at least, experiencing a really hard stretch of weather. There's been a major snowstorm every week since the beginning of the year here. We're on our 4th storm, I think, and each one has dropped a foot of snow on us, and it's dark out early, and it's cold, and there's just like this feeling of being closed in, and it's all of a piece with the other things that I'm talking about, in the way that it is having an effect on us. It is, it connects us to the environment, and it transforms how we perceive the world. And I think that one thing that I would talk about in that sense is, what effect can I have on what's going on outside my window and out in the world thousands of miles away? And this brings me back to Buddhism. And there's a Buddhist concept called Eshofuni, which means that the self and the environment are two things, but not two things. What happens inside us reflects outside us. What happens outside us comes in. And through our Buddhist practice, we can lift ourselves up and send our strength and our transformative energy out to the world and to the people around us. So what I wanted to make as the ultimate point of what I'm saying is that we have the power to transform our situation and how we feel about what's going on around us, and ultimately to create a positive change. For instance, because of this cold weather, it's easy to get depressed and to complain and to feel down and to lock ourselves into our homes and just feel bad. But if we carry springtime, that image of warmth and brightness and coming alive, if we carry that in our hearts, then we can give that to the people around us, and lift everybody up and survive this that I'm looking at out my window a lot better. And this also has an effect in the in the situation with people in the world. And I'm not saying that I think that my sitting here and telling you that if you start with hope in your heart, then there will never be any more oppression or strife in the world. But if I tell you that I feel hope, and I do, and if that hope touches your heart and lifts you towards hoping, then that's two of us. And then each of us tell somebody else that we feel hope. Then that's 4 people, and it's exponential and it spreads. And so what my message to you is today is to feel that hope, to realize that spring is definitely coming, and that as we wait for it, we can have the hope that it will be a beautiful spring. And it will be a beautiful spring here in New England, where there's currently 4 feet of snow on the ground. And that it will be a beautiful spring in these countries that are suffering these terrible unrests. And that we can have hope for the future of our country. And if we spread that hope, then perhaps there won't be a need for somebody to despair so much that they feel they have to go out and kill people. And I'm not saying that I understand why that young man did what he did, but we can lessen that in the world by being hopeful ourselves and telling other people that we have hope. And I hope that you have a good rest of the winter, that you can look at this weather and see the spring underneath it, and that you will spread a message of hope to those around you. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll talk to you again later this week. Bye.